All right, Dave just left, so I'm here alone now. I may have another person coming in tomorrow for a couple of days, but this will be exciting. It'll be me tonight. I got some things planned. I'm gonna get out with my thermal camera and the electric bike. Oh, and here's the view from my tent, right up against the wood line. You know, I don't like to have my tent way up there in the middle of the campsite where the other tent is. I need to be down here right next to the woods. And it looks nice and pleasant. It looks nice and pleasant here during the day, but at night when you can't even see your hand in front of your face, your mind will play tricks on you. But yeah. This is a good spot, nice, comfortable sleeping. So I am going to head on up and pick up the log recorders. Well, I need to go down and get the one down here, and then I'm going to go up and get the one that had the Japanese language. All right. Gonna take the electric bike and go get my stuff. All right, we're still at 89% on the battery. See that pipe cleaner, that orange pipe cleaner in the tree? That's what I used to mark where we went into the woods. Since we were up here after dark, I figured I needed something important that would be easy to see. So this is where we went in, but let's see if I can remember just how far back it was. We tied another, when I thought we went in pretty far, I tied another pipe cleaner on a tree so I could get myself close to, there it is. It's different walking around in here in the dark. So yeah, you can see the tent down there past that. So here's the second one. Nice little trick or tip if you're going to wander too far in somewhere after dark, to use little bright colored twist ties to mark locations. So here's the tent, where the tent was set up, and here's the log. So let's go ahead and break this down. And the LED flame lights are still going. Unfortunately, the recorder from this tent bait setup, as well as the recorder left in the other locations and the one at camp, produced nothing. The wind was pretty high, lots of wind blowing. There could have been activity, but nothing was really heard from that particular night. So I would have to gear up and plan again for the upcoming night. Starting to get a little warm. It's about 1 o'clock. It's been pretty windy. Seems a little bit calmer here today, but the wind has been a real booger for the last couple of nights.
On the wrong speed, clicks the switch to 33, turns the dial right up to 10, and he flies, leaping around the room like an eat-up baboon. His damn set, yelling, I have no regrets. Do it for the love, the rush, the buzz, the hush. Whatever tunes your knees to push, the hip, the lift. Even if you gotta sift through the shit to get to the twist, the smile a high like it's your very last line. You'll never get another try. Do it loud. Do it for the ride, for the here and now. Judy's in the wrong dream, just can't get back where she's been. A second pill's just kicking in, but she slides. The insides start to boom. A very young cartoon, bubbling through her veins, shuts her eyes. From begins, did it for the love, the rush, the buzz, the hush. Whatever turns her knees too much, the hit, the lift. Even if she's gotta sit through the shit to get to the twist, the smile a high like it's her last line. She'll never get another try. Do it loud, do it for the ride, for the here and now. can eat a baboon. Him and his dancing, yelling, I have no regrets. I do it for the love, the rush, the buzz, the hush. Whatever turns my knees so much to hit the lift. Even if you gotta sift through the shit to get to the twist. You smile high like it's your last line, but you never get another try. Do it right, do it for the ride, for the heat, for the ride.
Well, I was happy to locate the pond from the air. Uh, the month before when Chris and I camped, we talked about that pond, and so this was a goal of mine to get to that pond. But first, I had to kind of find its location. I could see it on Google Earth, but I needed to see it with my own eyes with the drone to get a bearing of its location. And so I was excited to check that out. So what I do is I go down and I check out the pond, find the pond and check it out. I think after I set out the recordings. So I first need to set up the tent recordings with the Japanese language down on Turkey Snout Creek. And then the next day when I go down to pick it up, that's when I go and find the pond.
I need to get some firewood for tonight. So I don't think I'll take this. I'll just cut it up and carry it. There was a tree back here on the other side of the road that I started cutting chunks off of last night, and they seem to work pretty good. So I'll see if I can't get 2 or 3 more good sized chunks off of it. All right, where did you go? There wasn't it. There it is, back there. A little bit further away than I remember. Jeez. Okay. Pretty good sized bundle there. All right, let's get them back. All right, I gotta admit, that bundle of logs is not as dry as you'd think. I'd say that weighed about 60 pounds, maybe even 70. I had to switch hands several times. Whew, that was a bit of a chore. All right, well, I should be set for tonight. About 11:30, I'm starting to get my bike together for its first run tonight. Got a little campfire simmering so I can leave camp, and I got to get all this put together. My plan is to go a few miles from camp down that logging road that's got a berm about a half a mile down that way, so that vehicles can't go any further. I took the electric bike down there a couple of days ago, and once you get past that berm, it's you can tell no vehicle's been there in a long time. So it's pretty grown over, and I went maybe a mile or two back past that berm. Looks really good, and that was in the daytime. I mean, kind of dark and spooky even in the daytime. So I got to get all this stuff set up. I am going to try to have my thermal camera set up in the front basket. And then I'm going to carry my tent with the Japanese language with me. And I'm going to strap it all down. At some point I will find a spot to leave my tent with the Japanese language and set that up somewhere way back there. The first two times we had them just, 200 yards from camp this way, but this time it's going to be a mile or two away from camp. So we'll see. Okay, got this ready. That's going to be cumbersome. Okay, so I'm going to have to wear this. Where am I going to put the pole? I need to figure out how I can put that pole on there. Camera up. And be able to rotate the camera. I got to tell you right now, this is going to take some getting used to. Oh, because my anxiety level is through the roof. And no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to myself to calm me down. All right, I think I found where I want to set the tent up. there's a dry creek down there. Right there's where I'm going to set the, well, I don't even know if you can see it, but right in here is where I want to set the tent and do the Japanese sound, because the creek is right down there, and maybe the sound will travel down the creek. I think I've lollygagged here. I've walked around and I've been talking to myself out loud to keep myself calm. So I think maybe I've made enough racket in this silence, in this darkness, in this hell. So I will set the tent up and we will go from there. Hey, buddy. I see you over there. That's either a head or a rock, and I'm hoping it's a rock, because I really wasn't ready for stuff to get sketchy just yet. Yes, that's rocks. Whew! All right. I can rest easy for now. But it's about midnight and oh my God, I'm way down that road, that trail. It's a trail now. And I had to get off and push my bike through a big old dip. So there will be no quick escapes from this point on. If you gotta go, it's gonna have to be a slow, methodical leaving. Log, and I got me another light. Okay, I got the goodies. We're gonna walk down here. You guys know the drill. You've seen this before. This is where it's gonna work good.
最近私が思うのは、貧しさ豊かさっていうのは経済的なこともあると思うんですね、お金もちろん、安定した生活があるかとか、寝れる場所があるかとか、そういうことはもう本当に基本的ながあった上で、何が私たちにとって豊かなものを考えたときに、私の考え方だと思うんです。ちっちゃいことに幸せを感じられる心がある人は幸せだと思うんですよ。なんていうかな、みんな違うフィルターで世界を見てる気がして、幸せそうだな、楽しそうだなっていう人は、なんだろうな、フィルターとかアンテナが感謝とか、あ、これ好きだなとか、楽しいなっていうことに向いてる気がするんですね。私もなんか、体調悪い時とかに、嫌なことばっか
All right. There's where she's at. And there's the tent. All right. I try to tell myself that throughout the history of the Americas, there were cowboys traveling across the United States that would just sleep on the open ground in places like this. And lots of times nothing ever happened, so why do I get myself so worked up? I'm prepared. I've got all my equipment. If something happens, I'm prepared. So I need to bring my anxiety level down. Just need to catch one. Now tomorrow I will go and collect that tent and the audio log and everything, and man, I have high hopes for it, being down there close to that creek. It's amazing how comfortable I am now. Down there I wasn't happy at all. Oh, thank God. All right, it's about 2:30 in the afternoon, and I'm all set up to go and collect the tent equipment down there on Turkey Snout Creek. And I'm going to do a little exploring in that creek while I'm there. All right, I am going to try to film this with this little cop cam, just so I can see what it's like. But this is where the tent is. You can see it down there. And I put my little twist ties here so that I'd recognize, just in case I couldn't see it off the trail. But it looks a lot different here in the daytime than it does in the pitch dark of night. But you can see the rocky creek down there, and that's where I had the parabolic mic here pointed down where I could hear anything in the creek. So hopefully everything finished out in the tent the way it should. And yeah, look at that. Can't wait to listen to this one. Please, sir, stop resisting. Please, sir, I don't want to have to tase you. Please, tent, stop resisting. I think all tents have it in them to resist. All right. Whew. All right. You see, the creeks are so dry that I saw on Google Maps that there's a pond not too far from here, and I would like to hike back to that pond and look around it for footprints, being that the creeks are so dry that maybe, just maybe, that pond is being visited. This is Turkey Snout Creek. This looks like the kind of place a rattlesnake would hang out. Up under these rocks. The temperatures are starting to eke up a little bit, around 80, so it's not super cool like it was when we first got here. So snakes could at some point be becoming an issue. Boy, this is a nice looking area. I want to pull up Google Maps on my phone and see where that pond is that I was talking about. See that pond right there? See that blue dot? That's me on Turkey Creek, Turkey Snout Creek. And you go north and it's that pond right there. That pond I want to check out. Look at the dirt on that side. That might be a good place to check for prints. So I'm wondering if I could go back on that trail and walk down to it. Or if I should just walk up to it here. All right, coming up on the trail. That's the trail on south. I really can't wait to get back and listen to this log recorder, but I am going to stop up there on the trail, take another look at Google Earth, and see how close I can be to that pond. further north on this trail. All right. My blood sugar beeper just went off, so my blood sugar's getting a little low. So this is my go-to sugar raising. That way it's just not straight sugar. I got some stuff with some nutrients in it too. All right, let's pull up Google Maps where I'm at now. Let's see where, that's where I was. Now the dot, okay. Oh, well, that's not very far. I am gonna have to go way on up, and then okay, I'm gonna have to go up even further. But there's the pond, and here I am kind of working my way up the trail. So let's see how close I can get before I need to cut over to that pond. All right, this looks like about as close as I'm gonna get on this trail. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off this way, see how close I can get. I need to bring the bike down to this trail. That way, if somebody came back on that road, they wouldn't see. I'm basically following this dry wash in kind of a downhill trajectory, because more than likely that might be what dumps into a holding area that appears to be that pond. So it looks like me on the map is moving in that direction by following this channel. So we shall see. All right, it's showing that I'm getting close. I'm way past the halfway mark from where I marked the bike to the pond, so I'll just keep on trekking.
So here's what happened, and it's not funny. I was bushwhacking cross country using Google Earth, and that little blue dot showing where I was moving incredibly slow. No matter how far I would walk, it just seemed like the pond just kept staying just out of reach to get to it. And then my blood glucose meter started going off because my blood sugar was dropping, and I didn't have any juice with me. So at some point, I thought I was very, very close to the pond. I had to go ahead and abort and get back to the bike so I could get some juice. And I'm standing at the bike and I'm looking at that little old crusty trail that I'd parked the bike on that was off the main road. And I just decided after drinking some juice that I would take that trail on down. And you're not going to believe this. The trail led right to the pond.
But look at this. This is a mud hole where things come to get a drink in the middle of the woods. Wow. I am going to have to go around this and check it out. with the creek so dry, you can't be surprised that this is the choice, the water hole source for the area. Could that be bear? Could that be a bear print? Probably. But I don't see one coming in. Yeah, right there. There's one. Small bear paw. Very good. Another dried up bear paw. Well, found a lot of animal, even some bear tracks, but none of what we're looking for. It's a good thing I found this trail. See this open trail that allowed me to get here after hiking for an hour and a half trying to find it. See the battery on the outside? These are the same parabolics I've used ever since I went to the Chickasaw Park and had the encounter there. And that's what I was sitting in the truck listening with a headset like this. But these things have worked so good for me that I've never wanted to change them.
At this point, you can notice that the wind is really blowing pretty good going into this evening. You can see the light strand behind my head knocking around in the wind. So, needless to say, this night's audio recordings did not turn out well with all of the wind blowing. So, that's about it on that.
But they kept breaking because they have a place on the inside where you uncap this, slide it open, and then there's a plastic shelf in there where you have to push the 9-volt battery onto the shelf. That's where they would always break. They would eventually break in that point, and then I would just buy another one. They were about 150 bucks when I started buying them, so I just used them until they broke, and then I'd buy another one. Well, it got to where you couldn't buy them anymore, so I found like the last ones they had on the shelves in any store anywhere. And I think the last one I bought on a shelf in a store in California was like 300 bucks. And it was the last one they had. And so I know they're not being made anymore and you can't get them. So I have to eliminate the part that was always breaking. So I've rewired all of them so that I put the 9-volt battery on the outside of it. That way I never have to open it. All the components that are very rickety and brittle on the inside never has to be accessed. I've just got wires running out with a 9-volt patch that plugs into the phone or the battery, and then I just tape the battery. So everything is done on the outside. If that ever breaks, I'll just patch in a new one. So that's how it works for me now. So, you know, what I do is I put them together, always test them out, make sure that when I turn it on, oh yeah, you can hear everything. And then I've got the recorder going, so I will put it all in. I will put it all in the log, and run the wire out. Run the wire for the headset to my tent. Just like the old days. All right. So I've got it sitting on this stump, looking out in that direction. And there's the tent. So the headset will be in there with me. Very good. I just want to show you guys the setup. In the tent, I've got that pole running up through the top. And it's got my thermal camera. The cord runs all the way down here to the monitor. So when I'm listening with these headsets, because my parabolic log is laying about 25 feet from my tent, so even if I'm sleeping with these on and I hear a noise that jars me awake, I can just reach over, turn my thermal on, and I can scroll around. So like, for instance, there's me scrolling through the woods, and there's the generator. You can see the heat still showing on the generator, and there's the campground. There's the canopy and the kitchen and the vehicle, and there's the other tent, and then it goes back to the woods behind my tent. So if I hear anything that makes me say, what's that? I'll just turn on the thermal and have a looky look. Well, I was using the thermal sticking out of the top of the tent last night. Uneventful, kind of windy. I did get some video shots of panning it around and looking at the campsite over there, but without going over the audio. Well, I mean, I didn't hear anything with my headset on that alerted me to have to check things out, but I do have an audio that I can go over and check out. It's tough to be able to leave camp. You know, you just, when you're alone, you can't leave so much stuff unattended. So I'm going to listen to the football game at about 3:20 today. I'm going to listen to the Chiefs win their 4th game. And I'm going to kind of start getting things packed up tonight. And I will put one more log out tonight above camp, back up there where we got that audio from the tent experiment. I will leave a log up there one more time tonight that I can grab first thing as I'm heading out tomorrow. But I will be heading home tomorrow on Monday. Oh, I think I've had my fill. I'm tired. I've decided that I'm going to go ahead, and I took the bike down to that little bridge. It's about a mile down the road. Last time I was here, I left a recorder there. I am going to leave a recorder there this evening. That way I can just pick it up on my way out tomorrow. And I'm also going to put one up here on this above east where we put the tent out the first night and got the possible vocalization. So I'm going to leave a recorder there, leave a recorder down there, and I will pick those both up on my way out in the morning. I'm going to go ahead and kind of get things packed up tonight, and then I'm going to be heading home tomorrow. But getting these prepared for deployment later. Okay, so that's one ready to go. That's the second one ready to go. Like a glove. All right, so these will sit here, and then as soon as the football game is over tonight, and I will take these to their both respective locations, and then I will start getting stuff packed up tonight. I wonder if I should leave one. Let me think about it. I might put a third one out, just so that I can have plenty of stuff to listen to once I get home.
I had just set up 2 recorders, one for the bridge and one for the first location of the bait tent. I just made the decision right then and there. That was the best decision of this whole trip, and that is to go ahead and make a third log recorder and leave it at camp. That's the one that I picked up all of the activity on this upcoming night, was the log that I had in this campsite.
I think there's going to be hunters coming in. I saw a truck come in where he tootled on down the road, and he came back real slow, waved at me, and then went down that road, and then came back out because there's no place to camp down there. I think he was hoping to get this, to snag this campground. Now he's driving around looking for a place, but he's probably getting ready for hunting season to start here in a couple of days. I hope nobody tries to squeeze in here with me. I ain't having that.
Leads the NFL. He has a sack already in this game. Here's the 2nd and 6. With an old breather. Take it back to Edwards. He plows ahead. About a foot shy of the roster next week.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is why when you're distributing, looking 3 here, you don't expect pressure, because if you pressure the quarterback, all of a sudden it opens an area of the field quickly for a short pass. So expect sticky coverage. You have opportunities to get down the field here, but usually the...
All right, I'm going to put out the 2 last log recorders. That I can swing by and pick up in the morning as I'm leaving. Well, if I can leave by noon. I say leave in the morning, but I'll probably sleep till 10 and then finally get my stuff packed up. So as long as I can leave by noon, then I'll be home around 6. So I think these logs are a good place to put the first one, and then I can just drive my vehicle up here and grab it. This will be the last ditch effort to grab some audio. and hope the crickets aren't too outrageous tonight. There we go. All right. If I get something juicy on the recording, I want to make sure that everybody knows where it's at. All right, down to 30% on the battery. Didn't have much luck down on Turkey Snout Creek last night. It was just so windy. I mean, I could hear things occasionally, but it would only pick up when the wind would pick up, so that tells me it's the wind knocking stuff out of the trees. But so nothing significant. I think she'll work. Already got a good base to it. I got some bigger logs I'll drop on that and let them simmer.
All right, everyone. This is the log recording from my last night there at the New Area X. Uh, I am going to preface this audio with what I did at the beginning. I pre-packaged my campsite so that I could leave the next morning. So I spent right after dark. I started packing things up, and I have a large campsite, closing up the canopy, packing stuff in containers, closing the lids, and I have a real solid, airtight, watertight uh, bin systems where it's got 5 locks on each lid, and they make a loud popping noise when you close them and open them. Uh, that's what I want to bring attention to. I spent a couple of hours or longer filling these tubs, closing them up, moving them around, loading them up on the vehicle, popping them back open and refilling them, adding more stuff in, closing them up. Throughout this whole process, there was lots of loud pops and popping from these plastic container handles that would pop in place. Very loud. And I'll play a few of them just so that you can get an idea. I think some of this may be a reason why I may have gotten a visitor. And something out in the distance would be hearing these pops, and it could sound like tree knocks, could sound like rock clacks, could sound like anything. But needless to say, it was about a 2 or 3 hour process where I was making these sounds continuously, and it would travel pretty good through the woods. So that may be a reason for a visitor to show up. Another reason that a visitor may have decided that it was okay to enter the campsite is because I had condensed everything down from 2 tents, a canopy with sides on it for my tent, for my kitchen area. I had taken all of that down, packed everything up, loaded it on the vehicle. The only thing left was a single tent that I was sleeping in and one lone little table out there with my coffee maker and the generator sitting on the ground beside it, and just a few small items on the table so that the next morning I could just quickly throw that stuff in after making my coffee and hitting the road. And that was my plan. So the last night, the only thing that I had going for me is that I had this recorder log out because my plan was to get some sleep. Unlike the nights before where I'd been staying up, as late as possible, this night was, I wasn't going to do that kind of stuff because I wanted to hit the road and I had a 6 hour drive. So, certainly didn't want to be sleepy on the drive. So that's what I did. That was the plan. But I think changing the campsite to a less scary campsite, and bear with me, all I have for a reference is back at my Chickasaw park encounter where the big one came in behind my truck, and I've mentioned many times his nervousness and how he was, keeping his eye on the tent, and keeping the truck between him and the tent, and being very nervous uh, about what he was doing. So if I have that cataloged in my head, and I had a visitor on my last night, and I had made some changes from this extra tent, from 2 tents and a canopy, and all of these things that that they'd have to be worried about, maybe people coming out of, condense it down to one tent and just one table. That's quite a bit less things that you have to worry about when you only got one tent to watch out for, and the table was far enough away, which is interesting enough because I do think something went to the table. So the table was actually sitting on the, I'd say 60 or 70 feet from my tent. My tent was all the way down by the edge of the woods, and the table was way up, on the other side of the vehicle, closer to the campfire area. So just the setup, I need to take note of how that was maybe taking away things that they have to be worried about might help, might enhance one coming into camp. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility, uh, because of what you're about to hear that happened. I think I did have a visitor, and I do think it was a Bigfoot. Uh, and So it could have been all the noises that I was making that resembled tree knocks and snapping and popping, as well as changing the camp to a less stressful uh, situation, for a very nervous critter. So here's the timeline. I'm going to stretch it out. And you can see how many crickets there were. Quite a bit of, there were some crickets close to where I had the log set, so they pretty much drowned out a lot of things. But I went through here and made notes as I went through this audio, and I made notes of all of the things that I think are important. So it starts with just listening to the noises of the sounds that I'm making, which might be an attractant. So here we go. Let's listen to some of them. Now I almost have to laugh because I was not quiet when I was popping those plastic, clasps, and there was five on each of my tub containers, and it's hard plastic. It's designed to be waterproof and things like that, and it's heavy duty. So man, they were loud. And now that I'm listening to them on the audio, it just makes me laugh at how loud I was being for probably almost 3 hours, packing stuff up and just repacking and moving stuff around and popping those containers. So something out in the darkness, out in the distance, was probably hearing a pretty good echo of all of these knocks and pops. Maybe that was a contributing factor to a visitor. I don't know. Could be. Like I said, so I want to go ahead and move on from all of these sounds that I made to the moment that I get into the tent, which is like 3 hours later. And I put the recorder out about 8 o'clock. And so I'm gonna fast forward to the 3 hours and 13 minutes. Okay, and that was me getting in the tent. And so the 3 hours and 10 minutes or 13 minutes after around 8 o'clock would put it at about 11, 11:15, somewhere around that time frame. So I can keep track of what time in the morning these things took place. So around 11, 11 to 11:30 is when I got in the tent, and I was tired, been up many nights before. So I was really determined to get some sleep. And I hadn't had a whole lot happen after that first night, that first recording that we got with the tent. So I was confident that, probably a whole lot wouldn't happen, but as a safety precaution for activity, I had the log going uh, on a stump, maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 feet from my tent, facing the wood line behind, down in behind where I was at. So that was just a safety precaution to catch anything that since I was going to be sleeping, I knew I would miss things. So, needless to say, the first noise happened 2 hours later at 5:09. It was just movement, nothing significant. And then at 5:52, there was the first knock. As I listen to that, what I call the knock, it might be a rock throw because it sounds like it's tumbling through the duff when it lands. So listen to that again and listen to the sounds after the knock. All right. That was at 5:52, which would have been at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m. And then there were these. Now, someone sent me a message and said that that sounded like someone blowing through one of those Aztec death whistles. And I have heard somebody blow through one of those when we were a year or two earlier when we were with a guy in Oklahoma who had one. And so I went back and listened to that, and it does sound similar. Does sound maybe slightly similar. Uh, and so, it just made me think that, you know, do I want people thinking that I was blowing an Aztec whistle? No, I don't want you to think that, but I don't know how else to present what happened, and just let people decide what they decide. Fortunately, I believe I caught that sound again further away but only one time. And that happened, well, let's first go to, we'll get to that point, but I want you to hear there's some movement at 5:59. Just very slight. And then at 6:05, I believe we got our first something thrown. All right. And then at 6:25 to 6:26, I don't know if maybe something had come in and was messing around the table. Yeah, I mean, so something was being messed around with, but in a very subtle way. Uh, then at 6:31, I get something that happens that I don't quite. I put question marks after it. Something repetitive. It's kind of interesting. Just some repetitive movement there that I can't even begin to know what was going on with that. Uh, Now at 6:45 is when I hear a, what may be that same cluster of four calls that I played earlier. This seems to be that same sound, but further away and only one. So let's play it. Okay, it sounds like a similar call from those cluster of four, but at a greater distance. And all of these spikes in here are cricket sounds. So when I first initially looked at the recording, I just saw lots and lots of crickets. So if I wouldn't have had the things that you're going to hear later with these rocks and stuff and things being manipulated, if I wouldn't have been able to hear those with my own ears when I was listening to the recording, then I would have never have gone back and listened to every little thing, even throughout the crickets. So there's a lot to uncover here so far. Uh, 6. Okay. And then I've got a what I call a weird noise at 6:58. 6:58.5. Now I had some stuff on the table, and one was a jug of water, uh, coffee, and I had a plastic container with a clasp on it to keep my sugar packets from getting moist. So it was waterproof with a clamp on it, but it was clear, and it's a hard plastic. To me, it almost sounds like something plastic, maybe on the table, is being touched or messed with. I don't know. I don't know. And believe me, I wouldn't spend this much time trying to evaluate such a simple little thing if it wasn't accompanied by all of these other things that are happening. Vocals, rocks being, you've heard the knocks. There are knocks, and later you're going to hear rocks being thrown. And so I do believe that in this particular night that there may have been a campsite visitor that was maybe examining things, trying to be subtle. But then there were times he wasn't trying to be subtle, with the rocks and stuff. So it's interesting. I mean, I just keep cataloging these and to see where we're at. I've got a lot of time marks in here where it just sounds like there's stuff being moved around on the table. Nothing heavy duty. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but I am going to go advance towards the next tree knock at 7:16:05. Man, I don't know. I don't know. So at 7:16 from 11 o'clock, that would be five, no, 11. So 6 o'clock. Hmm. No, that wouldn't be right. Yeah, yeah, it would. No, 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 no. That from 8 o'clock is when I put the recorder out. So that would be this would be 3 a.m. Okay, 3:15 a.m. And then 3:17 there was some movement. I had those big red containers up on the top rack of my vehicle, and even though they were strapped in, those clasps were on the sides of them. That loud pop from before. What if something snapped one of those pops? Popped one of those side things. I mean, because it was a loud, crisp pop, much like the pops whenever I was packaging up all my stuff. I wish I was able, to go back in time and maybe look at those containers up there if I would have known anything. And if I would have seen one of those clasps unpop, they would certainly snap to be undone.
That would be interesting. Given the height of where it was, I had to use a step stool to get up there. Uh, that's that's pretty interesting. Okay, so let's go to the 719, where I believe there was another break. All right, some kind of break going on. And then 727, more possible table examinations. There was something going on. All right, now we are going to have to advance to yeah, believe me, I listened through all of this stuff. All right. So at 9:51, which would be the 6 o'clock hour, eight. Yes, just before 6 o'clock in the morning. We get this spike right here. Then at 9:58, I'll tell you what that sounds like to me. It sounds like he's got a piece of wood in his hand and he breaks it and throws a piece of it. Listen to that again, and you can hear it land on the ground because it happens so fast. Imagine him holding a piece of wood, breaking off a piece, and throwing it, and then you hear it land. That's what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like.
And that was the last noise that I heard on the audio. And that is at the 6 o'clock, almost 6:30. 45 minutes later, I wake up at 11:16. Morning birds are starting to make their songs, and you can hear me undo the zipper, and within an hour I am on my way home. That was me coming out of the tent 45 minutes after that last one. I never heard any of it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Given the vocals, and then that single vocal at a further distance, was there multiple? Because it seemed like things were pretty distant, while at the same time there were things going on within the camp. Are those patterns that we know of where, one is in the periphery, keeping his eye on things if it needs to be a distraction? I don't know. I don't know. The recording is enough to keep me excited about the location. Given the first night that we had something come into the bait tent, I think something came in. Same type of situation where recordings are happening and we're getting something. I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can grab on here. It's still, most of it is just, wow, that's pretty interesting. I mean, keep it up. Let's keep it up and you know, try to have something better set up. If I'd have heard noises and had my thermal set up, maybe it'd have been like that other time on that ridge where I caught what I caught there. But it's hard to have everything set up the way you need it. I like it. I hope you do too. So it goes to show you that I need to have my tent set up with thermal sticking out of the top of the tent, with a parabolic log, with a cord running from it, with a headset on. I can't let those kind of nights slack by me. That means I've just got to be prepared every time. It's easy after a couple of days of nothing happening to get lackadaisical, especially when you're getting tired and you're wanting to pre-pack everything. So I didn't want to have to go through a whole bunch of packing up the next morning. I was just wanting to leave, and that left myself in a deficit situation where I've got to remember what I'm there for. So I need to put all of the effort into having that stuff set up at every available opportunity, just in case something happens. You have to have your equipment ready if you want to be able to catch this stuff, because it seems to be so random. But take into account what I said about me making the noises with all of my containers and changing the campsite to be a much less formidable, scary place with lots of hiding cubby holes for people to pop out of. Condensing it down to one tent and one table may have been the deciding factor for the Bigfoot to be more comfortable. I don't know. I just know that maybe I'll do some testing in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. I really enjoy times like this when you can come back with some information. But now it was time to get home and see my dogs and get ready for the next trip.
Hello? Hello? No. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Everybody. Oh. Yes, okay, I'm here. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Oh. Oh, it's okay. Oh.